So, James, I'm wondering if we should ask Regina how long she's been in the industry, or will we get slapped if we ask
I'm
her?
noticing a theme there.
Yeah, at least this segment has a theme.
So the first DRJ was in 1994. I had no idea. I was not at the first DRJ.
I wasn't even in the industry yet. No.
Nor was I graduated high school.
We've lost our next guest already.
He's going to share about.
Oh, well, if she wanders by, we'll call her over.
There she is.
There she is. There. But she has to say hello to Dr. Steve first.
We are on the outside looking in at this club. I think our last three guests.
I think so. There's definitely an elite group there.
Very elite.
So here we are. We welcome today Regina Phelps. Regina, welcome.
Long time no see.
Yes.
Great to see
We're
both of
excited to have you back.
you. I'm glad to be here.
Apparently, it's not reciprocated.
Oh, I'm actually
You're
thrilled
not
to be
sure to be here? Is that
here.
it?
Yeah, I'm actually good. I'm all good.
We've had Dr. Dr. Goldman and Dr. Chandler here.
Oh, I'm
And
not a doctor.
they've
I'm a
both
nurse.
been
Does
here.
that count?
You broke our string.
Close. They've both been here from the beginning, all the conferences. Have you attended all the conferences?
No, I've done 30 times 2, so that's 60.
Oh.
10 without you.
10 without me.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. We'll have to talk to Bob Arnold.
Bad Bob. Bad Bob.
Yes, and how many have you been to?
Actually, one, I'm not sure, 8 or 9, I think.
Yeah, and how about you?
More than 10. 10 to 15. Each. Somewhere in there. Yeah.
Oh,
There's a few of us that have sort of been around forever, but it's okay.
yeah. And you're doing a lot here. Your name's all
What
over
do
the
you have?
place.
Yeah, what do you have going on this week?
So I'm doing a ransomware exercise design workshop on Tuesday. I'm speaking with one of my clients who's an executive from AAA, and I'm talking about designing an exercise, and he's talking about the exercise I designed for him. Which will be fun.
I'm going to ask you a question in a minute about that.
Okay, good. And then on the Wednesday general session, I'm doing a speech with another one of my clients, and I'm talking about essentially the power of an exercise, and it's a two-part piece in the sense that I'm talking about really what a well-designed exercise can actually do for you. Not one off the shelf, but one that's custom designed for you. And then my client, and how do you? Let me say one more thing about that. When I design exercises, I often engage a lot of people within a company to create it, so it's really specific. So we have exercise design teams that are comprised of, their HR person and their comms people and all their business units and their facilities guy and their security guy, blah, 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 blah. And then we also have observers that we drop into all the rooms. And so at the end of it, there's probably 20 people that have been part of this design process. And they're like little ambassadors for this program because they deeply understand and know it. So it provides great value. So if you understand sort of that concept, my client at Exxon has taken all my methodology for exercise design, and they train all of the business continuity, emergency preparedness, emergency response professionals who design their exercises worldwide for Exxon use my methodology. And so,
Nice.
Yeah, it's sweet. And so anyway, he's talking about how he's done that in the impact attack on Exxon globally.
So many listeners for the last, last few years will have heard me say, did you make them cry? I want people to know this is where Regina is the person that told me that years ago. So my
We
first,
talked about that in Phoenix.
yes, we did.
So since Phoenix,
Do you make
have you
everybody
Have you
made-
made anyone
No, have you
cry?
made it? We don't have to give names or companies, but now I want to know, since the last time we spoke in Phoenix in September, have you made anyone cry, personally or professionally? We'll open it up. We'll open it up to
We
any
won't be
aspect
picky.
you want.
Well, let me just say professionally, I've probably done, since the last time I saw you, I've probably done 31 or 32 ransomware exercises, and I've made them all cry.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. You have a streak going.
I have a total streak going. But you know, again, I thought last time I saw you, what I talked about, which is so important, is that in a cyber exercise, because they can go on for so long,
Yes.
the worst thing an exercise designer can do is to have something that at the end they fix it. Because then people think, oh, that was awful, but you know, it wasn't that bad. And I will tell you that you would regret that, because then they're going to leave and that's going to be like, oh, you know, maybe we don't need to do as much. We don't have to have such robust plans or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm big into making people cry.
I
It's
love
my
it.
new profession.
That should be your tagline.
It's-
on
I
LinkedIn.
think I should have
I
that.
make them
Genius.
cry.
I make them cry. Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious, what part of the exercise
Do they
is
cry?
it that really, yeah, let's stick with that theme, that
Yeah.
really does get to them, that you just see them almost break, and cry?
Right.
What is it that does that?
It's actually really towards the end. So normally when we do a cyber exercise, because they are really complex, in many exercises you'll see maybe consultants where they'll actually skip ahead, missing multiple hours or even days. We don't do that at a cyber event because so much could happen. Technically, you as a designer would have to fill up all the gaps, and that means that you would also make all their decisions, which would be bad. So we don't do that. So in a cyber exercise, generally what we do is that we'd have it soon after the attack was known and you could begin to see how bad it was. And then we might have them work for like 90 minutes, 2 hours, something like that. And then we would stop, and then we would probably advance it no more than about 4 hours. And then we would have where they would actually find a ransom note. They might realize that their first, 48 hours of backups have been encrypted, whatever it is. And so at that point, it's like the, oh my God moment. And that's when I say, okay, great. I want you to pull up your business continuity plans right now. Tell me the section in your plan where it says sustained technology outage. You have that? Let me see it. Let me see it. How many people have that? How many people do you think have that?
Very few, if any.
Zero. And
Yeah.
so then it's like, well, this is all the stuff you have isn't going to help you at all. So then sort of the end is what I talk about. And I think I might mention this on one of my workshops, that the most important thing you can find in your meeting plan is a section that says sustained technology outage. It has 3 sections to it. What do you do when you have nothing for a long time? Because they're going to figure it out. They're going to make up stuff. So maybe they should do something thinking in advance. The second thing is, what do you do when you lose data? Almost always happens. And the third thing is that how do you validate the information? And that's not in anybody's plan I've ever seen, ever.
And then do you come back in the next day and actually hit them with ransomware? That's what makes them cry.
That's a good idea, but no, I don't. But I think the idea is that I think if you can make it really guttural, really experiential, it is profound versus something that's like, oh, okay, well, we solved it. That's not going to help you that.
Well, the piece you just mentioned, where how do you recreate data, or what are you going to do if you've lost all this data? What do you tell clients who say, well, on the business side, they're always saying IT will get it. IT knows what to do. IT will do this. Yeah, they've got it.
Well,
How do you go about basically letting them know that no, they don't got it?
Right, they don't get it. I mean, that's part of actually an exercise. Is that really what you have to do? Is that you have to make them feel that? Because I think, and if that doesn't work and you're not doing an exercise in the near term, I think what you have to do is you have to have what I would call a come to Jesus meeting, and I would bring in the technology professionals, and I would bring in whoever those naysayers are, and say, okay, great. If the following scenario happens, and lay out what happened. Okay, technology, what could you do for them? Be honest. Don't lie. Don't make it better. And I would meet with the technology people in advance and say, you need to be 100% straight. Don't exaggerate. Don't fib. Because if you say that, then that's what you are going to be held accountable to. And the best thing you can do is just, if you can't fix it, if it's not, if your backups could be encrypted or there would be certain issues of data loss, you need to spell it all out. And what I have found is that when people are really straightforward and really honest about that, then what happens is that there is a huge willingness to spend money to do more to support that initiative. But I think there's a whole lot of people not understanding. Executives might ask questions like, oh, do we have backups? Yes. Great. They don't have the next 10 questions to ask after that. And so what you can do is to help make that happen by making those questions like, well, what would be the next thing you would ask? When was the last time they were tested? Okay, great. And then what did you find? Did you have any problems? Well, yes. Did you fix those? Tell me about those. I mean, you sort of go down the list.
Is that part of the problem that sometimes people are afraid to either ask questions like that, or if they know the answers, they're afraid to give those honest answers? Because if I tell my president or CEO that I don't have X, Y, and Z, I'm going to lose my job. So I'm not going to say anything.
Right. Well, then that goes back to sort of my lesson number one in doing exercises that are cyber in nature, is that I want to talk to executives. I don't need to talk to all of them. I actually talk to one or two of them. And I need to tell them, okay, this is going to be really messy. It's going to be awful. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. And you're going to leave that room thinking like, holy crap. And that's going to be the best thing that could ever happen.
We were actually talking about that earlier, that a lot of times exercises become political.
Yes, they
And
do.
so the people in the room don't want to look bad, and they don't want anything to go wrong. But if nothing goes wrong during the exercise,
It's a waste of time.
it's totally a waste of time. I'm working with an organization now, they're based in Florida like I am. Like, well, we've done a hurricane scenario in the last 15 years.
Oh my God.
So will you run a hurricane scenario this year? I said, absolutely not. That's a waste of time. There's nothing else you can learn about hurricanes. You should be teaching this. They're like, well, but they always run smoothly. And I was like, well, I should hope so. Let's get messy.
And really, what are you learning after 15 times of doing the same thing over
Right.
and over again?
Right. That would be nuts.
Exactly.
That would be
But I think a
nuts.
lot of people are afraid politically to look back. To say, I don't know.
And so part of that is that when you actually are designing an exercise, but it's specifically a cyber exercise, which is politically fraught with a lot of peril, a lot of boards are interested in now, it has a lot of weight behind it. But I think what you really need to do is that you need to make sure that you have an executive who understands this, that it's going to be messy and awful. And ideally what I want is I want that same executive, which is hopefully your executive sponsor, which ties to hopefully your governance program, that they actually come at the beginning of the exercise and say, this is going to be a really busy exercise. It's going to be a lot going on. We're going to make a lot of mistakes, and those are great. Because if that person says those kind of magical little words, we're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's great, then that buys people some solace, if you will, that they're willing to play. And I say that throughout my exercises. I expect you to make mistakes. I've never had an exercise where they didn't make a zillion. And I think it's because we spend a lot of time up front trying to build that. That has to be part of the game.
That's actually the opposite of that. Aaron, our producer for the broadcast, always says that we make a lot of mistakes, and that's not good. So, on the other side of the coin.
Yeah,
Great.
it's a little
I'm
bit
going to
different.
get messages from Aaron now.
I'm glad Aaron-
Is that what's Aaron saying? Hi, Aaron.
I am. He's going to send me a message. I
I
know.
hope so.
I'm curious to know, is there a specific executive that you like to target? If you're doing a ransomware attack, do you go after the IT executive, or do you speak to someone else?
I definitely need to have the IT executive on board because otherwise they could have very ruffled feathers. So whether it's depending on how they're organized, the chief technology officer or whatever that position might be. Also, I'd want to make sure the CISO was on board for that as well. Because again, I don't want them feeling bad, embarrassed, etc. And then secondarily, if there's such thing as a chief risk officer, they're actually the ideal one for almost all exercises. But if it's technology oriented, I want to make sure the technology professionals are not going to be feeling like they had their knees cut off.
Is there anybody that you kind of wouldn't?
Yeah, who don't you want in the group?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
That's
Who don't you want in the room?
That's a great question. Actually, I have no problems with anybody being, I think they should all be part of that conversation. What I find normally is that executives generally don't really still understand the work that we all do. And because of that, they don't understand necessarily the value of something. So what I'm looking for is people that might have an understanding. Hopefully there's an executive sponsor. That would be them as well, if that's not the categories I've mentioned so far, to really get them to buy in and support it. And I think part of the problem in our field is that we don't have enough. We don't have enough leverage in the executive suites to really make it work. Although I have to tell you, in the last 18 months, probably started really with the war in Ukraine and maybe a little bit with the pandemic, that all of a sudden I've seen lots of the, like the big 7 consulting firms all using the word resiliency all the time. Like
Mhm,
McKinsey
yes.
and Deloitte, and
Yep.
now
For everything.
They use it for everything.
Correct.
Anything we can put resiliency around. And so now it's almost like it's so diluted. So now no one knows what it means. No one knew what it meant before, and now they still don't know what it
Now
means.
it's
I'd like to launch our new company, the three of us, AI.resilience.com. We'll just put ads on the website and make money off the website.
we own that AIresilience.com.
I think
If
we're gonna
anybody
buy it right
tries,
now.
we
I
own
don't
it.
know.
We'll look that up in our break.
Timestamp 12:45,
Right,
March
right,
18th, 2024.
I think it's a great idea. Okay, it was worth it right now.
Yeah. Any final thoughts to share before we let you go to enjoy the rest of the conference?
Well, thank you. No, it's great to see you both. I hope to see many of your listeners maybe at the conference, if not listening to the DRJ stream. And I'll be seeing you, I think, in a few weeks.
Yeah, we canceled March, right?
Cancel March.
Canceled March because we're talking
And we
now.
moved,
So,
we moved up April.
yes, that's right. Yes, so I will be the 22nd, I think it is, right? For the airing on the whatever that week is. No, the following week. Forgot the Thursday.
And
March
so-
1st. That's
March
right.
1st,
Yeah,
right.
March 1st. Yes.
So, and what kind of themes are you having a theme when you're talking to people?
Well, this last hour had a little bit of a theme. We had all the experienced, knowledgeable people all come
You
at
almost
one.
said
group.
old, but you changed.
No,
your
I
mind.
was not going to say that.
I think he wanted to say
I saw it coming, but it wasn't.
Yeah, all the
seasons.
Seasoned, yeah. What are all the
Alex,
adjectives
seasoned.
we can use, right?
Rapidly flipping through a thesaurus right
is my face red or is it?
It is a little red. So the seasoned people, and what did you learn from the seasoned people?
You guys can't leave yet.
Correct. No one's allowed to retire.
Yeah, you guys can't leave yet. This industry still needs you.
Oh, well, darn.
And that the very first DRJ conference was held at the same time as a Miss Atlanta competition in the same hotel.
Okay, that would have been really weird.
Now, what's even funnier is Dr. Bowman walked into the room with those, holding those contestants and wondered, wow, what,
Our
Things
profession
look
is
at
very
they,
attractive.
yes.
So,
So
I could
what
see Goldman
happened?
doing that.
So what happened now? Well,
Well,
let's hit that.
I can't wait for the younger people that are joining you to be interviewed. How are they going to beat that? It's going to be tough.
No. Well, thanks, Regina, for stopping by.
As
Really
always.
appreciate it.
As
For
always.
anyone that doesn't know, Regina and I do a monthly talk episode for Prepare for the Unexpected. The fourth Thursday, I think it airs usually. If we're almost at 50, I think, believe it or not. Yeah, it's been that many. We started out talking about the pandemic and thought we'd only be doing it for less than a year. Well, 50 episodes later, we're still doing
We're
it.
still talking. Blah,
And it
blah,
still
blah,
crops
blah,
up every
blah.
so often.
Yeah. Well, great to see you both. I hope you have great interviews and a good conference.
thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Regina.
You're welcome.
Well, James, we've come to the end of our second hour.
We have come to the end of our second hour. We want to thank Stone Rose, who is our sponsor this hour. They are the only health organization that prepare for, respond to, and recover after situations. Thank you, Stone Rose, for being with us over the lunch hour.
Yes, and thanks to our guests joining us this last hour. Lots of fun. And I guess I got caught with some of my wording there.
You did.
To think of something
The word of
to
the hour is season.
seasoned. Yes, we definitely have some seasoned people. So we'll take a break, and we will be back at the top of the hour, and we'll see you soon. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.